Apparently this week's thumbnail is the answer to the question, what does it look like when a heavy guy tries to lean back in a chair that he doesn't fully trust? What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to week 15 of my weekly CFL football pick show for the 2024 CFL season, and it's Monday. It's Monday morning. Don't normally record these on Monday mornings, but tomorrow is going to be an absolute write-off of a day for me. There was going to be no way to record the show in enough time to actually get it out to you in an adequate amount of time, or even to get it out on Tuesday. So we jump a little forward, record on Monday instead. I tell you what's not a total write-off, which was the picks last week. Yes, our banjos have been plucked. Labor Day is in the rearview mirror, and it was a successful weekend last weekend for me as well. 8-4 across the 4 games last week. Didn't start off super good. I think I was only 1-2 out of the first game. I think I only got the Lions against the spread because I did hedge my bets there in that game with Montreal. But then on Super Saturday, we had that Saturday triple header, went 7-2. So look, sometimes it's just have patience, have faith, and it'll work out. And that's exactly what, we've been on such a great hot streak on the show here with the picks, and I can't be more excited about it. 8-4 last week, 2-2 straight up, but 3-1 on both the betting picks against the spread and over under. Now a full 21 games over 500 on the season, 94, 73, and 1. CFL fantasy last week, I'm only willing to call it okay. I did hit triple digits, which was nice. I got to 100 points, but that was outside the top 1,000 across the whole game and just barely inside the top 300 in Derek Taylor's league. So yeah, it's triple digits, but relative to the rest of the game, didn't exactly make me move forward. In fact, it made me move backwards. 1,397.5 points on the season as a whole. I'm now outside the top 2,500 at 2,522 and outside the top 300 in Derek Taylor's league. I have got a lot of work to do here in the last few weeks of the season to try to make up this ground. Walter Fletcher tried to do his best for me last week. He put up a 17.3 and he gets my most outstanding player. And my team was very Jekyll and Hyde this week. I had 4 of my 7 on my roster that put up 12 points or more. That's good. But the other 3 put up less than 9. So I had that balance kind of at the top, but I just didn't really get it from the rest of my roster, and I didn't get that one big breakout performance either. So look, Walter Fletcher, he did good work for me, 17.3 points. He's my MOP. We also get a little bit of a break this week as 3 teams are on bye, and we have our first 3-game week of the 2024 season. That sees the Toronto Argos travel to BC to take on the BC Lions. The Argos will be on the tail end of their 3rd straight road game. The Ottawa REDBLACKS are in Hamilton taking on a Ticats team coming in off their bye. And the Montreal Alouettes are in Calgary taking on the Stamps. League-wide, it might feel like #overseason has finally arrived. 75% to the over the last 2 weeks. 7-3 run in the last 10 games overall. Feels like the points are starting to come. Defenses are kind of being left behind here a little bit. It may be over season. Also, we had a pair of betting dogs who won their games outright last week, and there have been 5 such instances of betting underdogs winning their game outright in the last 2 weeks in the CFL. So the dogs are starting to bark yet again. Does that stay the case this week? Let's find out. First game, Toronto Argos in BC taking on the Lions. Like I mentioned, it's the 3rd straight road game for the Argos. The Lions are coming in. This is their 7th consecutive game without a bye. So you're looking at, you would be looking at a bit of a rest discrepancy there were it not for the Argos being on their 3rd straight road game. I think that does a lot to kind of bridge that gap. The Argos dropped 17 points in garbage time last week, but still lose by 2 scores at the hands of the Ottawa REDBLACKS. That game was, of course, in Ottawa. Meanwhile, BC last week outpacing the league-leading Montreal Alouettes by a pair of scores on the road in Montreal. That's an impressive feat this season, and that was propelled by William Stanback, who touched the ball 22 times, put up 156 all-purpose yards, and had a rush touchdown. In this matchup this week, the starting quarterback matchup of Nathan Rourke and Chad Kelly, at least we assume those are going to be the starters, combined to throw 7 interceptions last week. Rough. This is an Argos team that over the last 2 games have put up about 1,000 yards worth of offense and put 55 points on the board. Chad Kelly coming back into the fold has changed this offense. However, you look on the other side there, Toronto's opponents have generated about 900 yards of offense in those 2 games and put 72 points on the board. So while the offense has kind of turned around with Chad Kelly, there are problems with this defense. This is an Argos team that is over a month now removed from their last convincing win. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have a BC Lions team whose defense has been steady and reliable over the last month, 6 weeks or so. As a matter of fact, their defensive efficiency has climbed up a little bit over the last time I looked at the last 4-game stretch. I think it went from 15.7 to 16.2, I think. So it's not huge improvement, but improvement is improvement. You certainly want to see that number continuing to climb. But the offense is what has really taken off since Nathan Rourke has kind of rediscovered how to be Nathan Rourke. Their offensive efficiency has gone from a 21 just a couple of weeks ago all the way down to 14.7. And that is a massive, massive shift in their efficiency and ability to put points on the board. You know, I feel really good about the BC Lions in this spot. Yes, it's been 7 consecutive games for them, but they're playing a team that's been on the road for a while, clearly has some issues on the defensive side of the ball especially. I think we're looking at a little bit of a shootout here, but I like Nathan Rourke and the Lions in that construct. So let's take BC to get the win at home over the Argos. On the line, BC is laying -4 here as a, not a marginal home favorite, certainly more than a field goal. I like him to win, and I was like, this feels like anything under a touchdown. I'd probably go ahead and lay on this Lions offense playing the way that it is right now. So let's go ahead and lay the -4 points there on BC. Doesn't feel like a super stretch. Total in the game set at 52.5 points. It is our highest total of the week, but I am still going to go over on it. I actually think this game could press 60 points. So a 52.5, I don't feel too bad about that. Give me the over on the 52.5 point total. We're going to go Lions 37, Argos 23. 2-possession win here for BC. Lions win. Lions cover the -4 and give me the over on the points. Up next, we have a Battle of Ontario as the Ottawa REDBLACKS travel to Hamilton to take on the Ticats. Like I mentioned, the Ticats coming into this game off of their bye. The REDBLACKS scoring 31 points in the first half last week against Toronto. That game was, of course, in Ottawa. That included 2 Damon Webb pick sixes in the secondary. So a massive, massive performance from an Ottawa defense that I've kind of maligned a little bit lately. The Ticats, coming off their bye, they upset Toronto back in week 13, so common opponent here between these two in terms of their last game played. 21 points scored in the first quarter, so they definitely got off to a good start there, which included 2 touchdown catches from Tim White, but Hamilton did just barely hold on to win that game by 3. And like I mentioned, with kind of maligning that REDBLACKS defense, I say that because the REDBLACKS have completely flipped the script on how they approach trying to win football games in the last month, 6 weeks, something like that. Early in the season, they were winning games on the defensive side of the ball. They've flipped from something of a defensive stalwart to a real high efficiency offense. They are among the league leaders right now in offensive efficiency, but the defense has allowed 27 or more points in 4 straight games, and the defensive efficiency has fallen from a 15.8 to a 14.1. You want that defensive number to go up, not down. On Hamilton's side of things, look, I am not going to take that win last week away from them. They got off to a hot start. They finally what feels like the first time this season actually hung on to win a game that they were leading going into the second half. We know about their second half struggles. I've been talking about them all year long. I'm not going to take that away, but the win does not change the same problems. The same problems are still there for the Ticats. The scoreboard just happened to be kind to them last week. They are now the league's least efficient team on both sides of the ball. Offensively, their number is a 17.6. That is the worst efficiency in the CFL over the last 4 games. On the defensive side, it's 11.5. That's really ugly from an efficiency perspective on both sides. Should be pretty obvious to you which way I'm going in this one. I really like the Ottawa REDBLACKS here, even though this is going to be their 6th consecutive game, and Hamilton's coming off the bye, so there is that big rest discrepancy there. Ottawa's head and shoulders the better football team. You can't trust a team that is as inefficient on both sides as the Hamilton Ticats. Again, not going to take that win away from them, but the numbers are what they are. Now on the line, the Ticats are taking plus 4.5 here as a home dog, and I think I have to take that number. I'm gonna do this big time on this one because it's under a touchdown and it feels like a number that I probably should be laying. But man, 4.5 points. And it's not like Ottawa is a world beater. They're a very good team, but again, it's a defense that's not playing as well as they were a month ago. So this is gross, but I am going to take that plus 4.5 on Hamilton, kind of hedge my bets there. And, if it doesn't work out, it's my fault. But we're going to go ahead and take the plus 4.5 on the Ticats. It does insulate us against an upset. Just got really dark in here all of a sudden. The universe does not like that I'm taking that plus 4.5. Total in the game set at 50.5 points. This is another game that I expect to get up into the 60s. I think we see a lot of points here in these first 2 games. I'm going to go like 33-30. I think that 27 plus point streak for the REDBLACKS defense does continue through this week. I think Ottawa gets out to a big lead in this game and ultimately do just enough to kind of hold on. We're going to go 33-30 final here. I like the REDBLACKS to win, but give me that plus 4.5 gross on the Ticats and the over on the points. And the last game of the week sees the Montreal Alouettes traveling to Calgary to take on the Calgary Stampeders. Speaking of a team that I've been maligning a bit lately. So the Owls and the Stamps both entered this week off of losses last week. For the Owls, it was a 2-possession loss against the BC Lions. For the Stamps, it was a 3-possession loss against Edmonton. So one of those looks a little bit uglier than the other one just on the optics of it. The Alouettes spot BC the game's first 10 points there. They were outgained 492 to 310 in terms of total yardage, and especially highlighting the run game here, outgunned 188 to 70. Meanwhile, on Calgary's side of things, the Stampeders trailed that game last week 23-6 at the half, and that game also featured 11 penalties for 137 yards. And with the way the Stampeders are playing on both sides of the ball, that was fait accompli. But you look at this Montreal Alouettes team, and I think they're one of the few teams across pro football in total right now. I could probably even make this argument for like college ball. One of the few teams who can lose convincingly, because that 2-possession loss is a convincing loss, and not really suffer. They don't really get any on them for losing a game like that. This is a team that is consistently elite on both sides of the ball from an efficiency perspective. We know they can score their points. We know their defense is capable of playing all-world defense. We haven't seen it a ton lately, but we know that it's in there. So a loss like that against another team that should be, competitive and is competitive in the West Division, I just don't think that loss kind of sullies Montreal's reputation any. Meanwhile, I cannot say the same for the team on the other side. The Calgary Stampeders make the move to bench Jake Maier at quarterback. And look, I stand on business. I have been one of the most critical people talking about Jake Maier this season. I didn't buy in fully, at least, to the whole, wow, he's really having a breakout year. It's like, well, he's having a breakout year in some ways, but look at these metrics and they're basically the same as they were last year. I have been as critical of him as the next person. He's not the crux of the problem. He's got his issues, but he ain't the crux of the problem. And they turn the game over to Logan Bonner at quarterback, and he throws 5 interceptions. I'll take it a step further. Changing the quarterback was never going to work. I want to be very clear with my language on this part. You do not win with a defense this bad. The Calgary Stampeders have allowed 30 points or more in 7 of their last 9 games, including 4 straight. And were it not for the Hamilton Ticats, not only would they be giving up a lot of points, not only would they be giving up a lot of yardage, they'd be the least efficient defense as well. But of course, the Hamilton Ticats are a team that exists. And for Stamps fans who think they've hit rock bottom, no. This is not rock bottom. Rock bottom is coming. Not just if they lose this game. Rock bottom is wholesale coaching changes. Rock bottom is people with names get fired. Rock bottom is everybody gets traded at the deadline. You have not hit rock bottom yet, but it's around the corner. And look, it's not like I take pleasure in this. I'm not a Stamps hater. I'm just a realist because they're not my team. And that's what I like about looking at this league, where I don't have a fully dedicated team affiliation. I can stand at arm's length and I can look at this situation and go like, look, this is bad. You got to realize this is bad, but you also got to realize it's going to get worse. In terms of this week, this is a get-right game for Montreal. That's what this is on the schedule. They can look at this on the schedule coming into this week and go, this is a get-right game for us. So I'm on the Alouettes very heavy in this game. I think on both sides of the football, they flex some muscle and remind everybody why they're the Montreal Alouettes and why they're the defending Grey Cup champs. I'm on Montreal in this one, super heavy. On the line, Calgary is taking +5.5 here as a home dog, and where I was successfully tempted to hedge in the previous game, I am not. We're definitely laying the -5.5 here on Montreal. I think they should cover this number with ease. Total in this game set at 49.5. It is our lowest total of the week, but I am going to stay under on it. I do think it gets into the 40s, but I don't think the offensive upside of this Stampeders team is much of anything, especially if they are committed to Jake Maier's not going to play anymore. Like if they've fully benched Jake Maier and it's going to be Logan Bonner moving forward, I just don't see it yet. So, I mean, do they get to double-digit points? Maybe barely. So let's take the under here. Under 49.5 points in Montreal, Calgary. I'm going to go like 33-10. Something like that. Montreal wins very convincingly. Montreal covers very convincingly and give me an under on the points. So look, it's Monday. I have no idea what direction I'm going to go in CFL Fantasy. What I will say is this. My team is going to be packed with Montreal Alouettes. It is going to be packed with Ottawa REDBLACKS. It is going to be packed with BC Lions. And I don't see a good argument for not taking the Owls on the defensive side. So definitely the Alouettes defense. And again, in terms of skill players, looking at the Owls, looking at the REDBLACKS, looking at the Lions, I might look at Hamilton. Because, I mean, I've got them getting to 30 points. So, I mean, it's entirely possible. Do we grab, like, maybe not Bo Levi Mitchell, but do we grab, like, a Tim White or a Shamar Bridges to kind of have a bounce back? Keandre Smith as kind of a touchdown hawk. There are arguments to be made for some Ticats. So, look, when I know what my roster will be, I'll let you know down in the comment down below. But as of right now, I have no idea what direction I'm going in. There you have it, folks. Those are the picks for Week 15. That is the show. We'll go over them here with you one more time. I got the BC Lions beating the Toronto Argos in BC 37-23. I'm going to lay the -4 on the BC Lions, take the over on the 52.5 point total. I got the Ottawa REDBLACKS holding on to beat the Hamilton Ticats 33-30. We like Ottawa to win, but give me the +4.5. It's a little stinky, but give me the +4.5 on the Hamilton Ticats in a game that goes over the 50.5 point total. And I like the Montreal Alouettes to blow out the Calgary Stampeders 33-10. We like Montreal to cover -5.5 points and give me the under on the 49.5 point total. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the show this week. It was a little bit of a quickie, but there are only 3 games for us to take a look at. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. We'll see you again next week for Week 16, and we'll see you on Wednesday night for NFL week 2.